Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and quantum healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet. Hello and welcome back to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. So if you've been following along with us, you should have just finished up with episode 4. But before we get into episode 5, Wes, tell us what's been going on.
Andrea, hey, thank you for coming today. Also to our listeners, this was supposed to have posted this morning. We've had such a crazy week, so we're a little behind, so sorry about that. And we appreciate you bearing with us as we grow and figure out this new thing called running a podcast and writing multiple books and living life. So it's been pretty busy.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, and we actually didn't mention some of our listeners last time.
We did not. We want to say thank you to the tons of fans on YouTube. You know, that is exploding. Right now, our overseas listeners, Go Belgium is still number 1. Japan is number 2. So it's fun to have a little competition there. We are going to hit our 30-day mark on, what's today, Saturday? On Monday. So we're nearly 700 downloads. And that's pretty fun.
Yes.
Now, your new show is doing really well. So tell us about your new show.
So I also have a podcast called How Good It Can Get. And I just released an episode on quantum jumping, which I just love and am fascinated with right now. So if you want to check it out, it's on Spotify. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of great feedback. It's been really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, Andrea introduced me to this concept of quantum jumping. And so we are actually putting together a platform. Andrea's putting together a platform on that. And you can find our link tree through VB Healer on Insta. And what's yours?
An Abundant Universe.
So make sure you follow us, send us questions there. So one of the things we're going to have soon is we're going to have classes and courses that you can sign up for and learn how to do some of this stuff. It's really, really cool.
We have definitely some exciting things coming. So you do want to follow us so that you will know as soon as they're ready. We are working very hard to get those out to you. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Hey, Andrea, I like that new shirt you have.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So tell us about that new shirt.
So if you didn't know, Wes just launched a clothing brand called Spiritual Nomad. Coolest logos on t-shirts. We're in Virginia Beach, and so it's got a bit of a surf vibe. So Wes, where can they get these t-shirts?
So you can go to our Insta pages and click on the link tree. That will be up and running today. We'll connect that link. So we're still working out a couple little bugs here, but what Spiritual Nomad is the reason it's even there is, you know, if you're a local in Virginia Beach and you go down to the surf shop, they've made the quality of the t-shirts so junky. You know, they just have. You spend $25 on a shirt and you're throwing it away after 2 or 3 months at best. So me being me, I'm like, I want to design something super cool. So we've got these nomadic people on the shirt, the chick standing there in the bikini with the little nomadic, what do you call it on her head?
I don't know. But it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So just trust us on that. So you'll go there, and the shirts are high quality. The prints are really cool. You know, I was telling Andrea we need to do one with Jesus holding a surfboard or something also. But you know, that's rolling out. You're working on a new book.
Yes. So if you go to the link tree, you can access everything I've done so far. But I'm also working on a new book about how we can raise our vibrations and how that can combat anxiety. Because actually, anxiety is one of the number one things people struggle with today.
I hear it all the time. I've got healing clients in my office talking about anxiety. And so one of the things that Andrea is very, very good at is putting that on paper and creating these opportunities for you. And it's going to be fun. So we've got a project that we've been working on specifically about anxiety, and that's going to be coming out soon. I started working on a new book. I don't have the exact title yet, but basically it's talking about taking 15 minutes a day and changing your life, changing your vibration, changing the way you think, talk, and speak. And so it's going to be a guide that you just follow that 15 minutes worth of a mini meditation or whatever it is, and it changes things for you. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be fun. I'm
excited about that one because everyone can take 15 minutes a day to change their life. I mean, how many minutes a day do you scroll through Facebook or Instagram? I assure you it's probably more than 15 minutes a day. So I am anxious for that book to come out.
Exactly. And I forget the exact math. I don't have it in front of me, but 15 minutes a day over a year is like 5,800 minutes or something crazy like that. Imagine if you said, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, which is the Ho'oponopono sacred prayer, or I am gifted, I am loved, I am beautiful. And you say that 5,800 times. That's not even 5,800 minutes, but say you say it 5,800 times this year, how much that's going to change the way you think.
I guarantee it will change your life.
And that's what this program is about. Taking opportunities in your life and doing something different. And we are going to give you the tools. We're going to give you the opportunity for you to connect with yourself at a deep, intimate level and become the person you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's the whole point behind this podcast. That's what started this whole thing, and that's the goal.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. What are we going to talk about, Wes?
You know, I like talking about healing. So I was getting ready for the show this morning. So just so you know what it looks like for me to get ready for this show, one of the things I do is I listen to the podcast of the week before while I'm getting ready and taking a shower. And I purposely allow myself to connect with our audience. And that's a lot. So you experience that each time, and today was a lot. And what I mean by that is I feel what you feel. I allow that protection I put on myself to come down, and I hear your words, and I want you to understand it's not your fault. You know, those things that happen to you are not your fault. And that you are more beautiful and more loved than you'll ever imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know one of our listeners, I can hear them right now. And I want to say this, I need to say this, is it's okay to be where you're at right now. You're allowed to be pissed off. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to feel disconnected. You're allowed to feel fucking betrayed because you were betrayed either by yourself or by somebody else. But don't you put guilt and shame on top of that. Don't you sit there and say, I feel guilty for being angry. I feel shame for being sad. Fucking feel angry and feel sad because you're entitled to it, because it's a real feeling and emotion, and it is part of your healing journey. See, that's the problem, is when we put expectations on how we're supposed to feel now. You know, a friend of mine's husband passed away not too long ago, and she said, I don't know if I should feel the feelings that I'm feeling right now. And I'm like, you're allowed to feel whatever you want to feel. Ain't nobody in your shoes. I got to go to a friend's funeral this last week. This gentleman, I didn't spend a lot of time with him as a child, is my friend's daddy. But what a beautiful man. And seeing the legacy he left, and the legacy I'm talking about is love and beautiful opportunities with his family, and seeing him with pictures of his grandchildren. And, he left me a gift. So, my childhood in the neighborhood, I didn't fit in. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't cool enough. I wasn't good looking enough. I wasn't something. And so that started this journey I've been on of carrying this victim energy and feeling ugly, weak, and stupid, because I've been told I was ugly, weak, and stupid every day as a child. And the reality is I'm not. And at the funeral, there were some of the neighborhood kids there. And I've held this resentment. It almost seems silly now, but I've held this resentment on, my childhood was not what I would like for it to have been. And as I'm at that funeral, some of the people there that tormented me the most or excluded me the most, and I held on to that, said the kindest words to me at the funeral. I don't even know if I told you about this.
You did. And it's really, I've thought about it a lot since you told me, because it's very powerful.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that at my friend's funeral, who carried unconditional love in his heart, what a beautiful man, this is the lesson that Wesley gets, is to sit in front of somebody who really excluded me the most, but was so kind to me. It allowed me to realize, he was a child too. And I've held on to a bullshit story for 45 years. And this is what I'm talking about for you. What story are you holding on to for 20, 30, 40, 50 years that shouldn't be the story of your book? It should be a chapter or a sentence in one of the chapters in your book. Meaning, yes, this happened to me, but it doesn't define my life. Because we're not here to be victims. We're not here to be in pain. We are not here to suffer. We are here to learn how to be this spiritual being in a human body, learning experiences, healing from trauma, healing from past life trauma, healing from whatever is going on in your life so you can be the beacon of light that you're supposed to be. People ask all the time, what am I here for? You're here to be a fucking beacon of light. That's what you're here for. Maybe that beacon of light, yesterday I cut my neighbor's yard because his lawnmower is broken. And then I was at the beach and I said a kind word to the homeless person. And then I did something else for somebody yesterday. And I didn't do that to make myself feel better. I did it because it felt like the right thing to do and I was being of service. Because I'm releasing the victim energy that I carry, so my vibration increases, and I'm being that beacon of light, because you never know what that kind word did for the homeless person at the beach.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if I just share a quick story, you speaking about that just really reminded me of something. Now, this had to be probably 15 years ago now, right? I was in the grocery store and I was having a very, very difficult time. I was going through some personal things. It was written on my face, I think, and I remember the cashier, after I paid, she came out from around her station, came over to me, gave me a hug and said, I don't know what's going on, but it's going to be okay. And I broke down. That kindness, that hug, that support from another human being on the planet that saw me. I mean, I think about it to this day, and it was 15 years ago.
Yeah. You never know how you're going to impact somebody's life. I mean, look at the other end of the spectrum. Think about when you're a child and somebody says something that hurts your feelings, and we've held on to it for 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
It's what humans do. We are the only species on this planet that lives in the past. But imagine if you change your mindset and you look for the beautiful things that they told you as a child and you adopt that story. That's what we're talking about, is doing something in the moment to shift the energy for you to become the person that you're supposed to be, because there is a version of you we haven't met yet. And on this show, we're going to find that person.
Yeah.
So there's so many aspects of this show. There's so many aspects of that experience. I almost feel like I haven't done it justice so far. But at the same time, I can't cover every little single thing. And it kind of takes a toll on me doing this.
It does. I've seen it firsthand.
It does. This show has not been easy for me. Going back into those moments and those thoughts. So I wanted to share one of the moments, a pivotal moment in my life. So we're probably fast forwarding, we've covered up the first 60 days. So I don't know, we're at maybe the 5-month mark or something. And through this whole process, I'm not really working. I'm not going into the office. I'm spiritually open at such a high level. I felt everything. I can touch a piece of fruit and taste it before it touches my mouth. I can look at somebody and see a demon inside of them looking back at me. It was extraordinary. It was extraordinarily painful. And in short order, it got to the point where if somebody touched me and they had something inside of them, it was like almost like screws or worms going and digging through my skin as I shook their hand, and I could see it. I could see my hand turning black as the darkness creeped up inside of my body, and the pain was extraordinary. I was uncomfortable in my skin, to say the least. But I'd been spending my days Googling and calling places, asking for help, and strange conversations were happening. And I think we shared earlier where people were telling me to stop calling them, right? We covered that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the point being is people understood how powerful of an entity I was dealing with and wanted to get away from me. They did not want to help me. I was leaving voicemails and sending emails and sending texts to priests, to these Buddhist monk guys and these other people. And after numerous times reaching out, they're like, yeah, we never received any messages from you. So this darkness had the ability to manipulate that. So I find it hard to believe the priest was lying to me. But I did make a phone call one day, and it was a place down in Florida. And I told the lady on the phone, I said, I didn't even know what I was asking for. So I was telling them my house needs an exorcism. That's what I need. And she said, honey, you don't need me. The priest that teaches that lives in Virginia Beach. And I'm not going to share his name, but this man is a wonderful man. And he is a retired British Royal Marine. So he's a badass. So any of y'all that are local that might know who that is, you know who I'm talking about. And so she gave me his number, and I just remember just crying. I mean, I was just sobbing. I had been spending hundreds of hours trying to find help. So I'm Googling this guy, figured out where his church is. So I show up at the church, and he comes out and he's busy. And I start telling him what's going on, and his first words are you shooting up heroin, son? I'm like, no, sir. I'm not. And so he asked me that question 4 or 5 times, and finally I said, Father, I said, this is real, and I know the work that you do. And he kind of looked at me because, the priests don't go out and publicize, hey, I do exorcisms, right? It's not on a website. So he says, come with me. So we're at this big, beautiful church. We're walking down this long hallway, and they've got all these pictures of these old priests on the wall. And, I am not comfortable in church. And I'm standing in his office talking to him. And, this one demon that had been following me around was taking this knife that felt like it was about 7 inches long. And he was slowly sliding it in my lower back through my kidney. And I could feel it ripping my skin. I could feel it tearing. It was extraordinarily painful. And I'm trying to keep my composure. And the priest is like, what is happening to you right now? And I was so embarrassed. But I told him, I was embarrassed because it's a lot. And, here's this man asking me if I'm shooting up heroin. And I'm broken, I'm sad, I am fucking suicidal, basically. I am at my wit's end. And here I am telling this man that there's something standing behind me in his office, sliding a knife inside me. And he he puts his hand on my shoulder and reaches around instantly. I mean, just his whole demeanor changed. You see that Marine kick in. And he reached, I didn't tell him where the knife was, and he reached right where it was at, and he grabbed it, and he said some kind of prayer. And he pulled it out, and God, it hurt when he pulled it out. And he said, "To the foot of Jesus," and he flung it away. And that did a couple things for me. One, that showed me I was in the right place. And this stuff, I knew the darkness was real, but now I knew that God was real, even though I didn't believe it. I was still pissed off at Jesus. But I was just so broken, I had nowhere else to go, right? You know, they say there's no atheist in a foxhole. And what that means is when you're in combat and there's rounds flying over your head, I bet your fucking bottom dollar you're going to look for a higher power. And I was looking for my higher power. And that was, I wanted my shitty life fixed so I could go back to my shitty life. And he says, "Come here, sit down." So he gave me communion, which I didn't know what that was at the time. And he poured this brandy in this little glass, and I think he enjoyed drinking a little bit more than I did. He had 2 or 3 communions. But he took this sacred oil and he drew a cross on my trigger finger, helping me release the guilt and the shame that comes along with being in combat and breaking that connection to the past. So if you think about, we have the event, and that event has energy that creates your trauma. He's releasing the energy of that. And when he drew that cross on there, I remember feeling this beautiful sensation go all the way up in my hand, all the way up into my shoulder and the back of my neck. I've never experienced anything like that before. All I've ever known was pain. Everything hurt. Every relationship hurt. Every laugh hurt. Every smile hurt. Everything that was good hurt. Everything that was bad hurt. It's what it was. It's who I was. And I felt something nice. And, we started talking, and he asked me what my relationship with Jesus was. And I told him, I said, "Fuck that, Father." And that's how I spoke in his office. I said, I don't have a relationship, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful because I know you're helping me. And he asked me why I felt that way. And I told him, I said, well, if Jesus is real, why do we have suffering? If Jesus is real, why do we have pain, disease, death? Why was I molested as a little fucking boy if he's real? Why didn't he pull me out of that room? Share that with me. And he sat back and he said, "Do you trust me, son?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." He said, "I'm going to take you back in time, and you just have to trust me." So he had me close my eyes and take some deep breaths. And he says, "I want you to take me back. I want you to go back to that room where you were as a little boy." And I'm not going to go through graphics. But I want you to get to a point where just before it got really bad, and tell me when you're there. And I'm like, okay, that was easy to do. I could see every detail of that room. I could see every picture, everything. And I remember telling him, I said, "Fuck you, Father. Fuck you for taking me here. Fuck you." I remember in my mind, I seen a demon in that room for the first time. I'd never seen that. Even though I kind of felt that in that house. And I said, "I'm here." And he told me, I want you to look around that room and find Jesus. And I remember, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You're fucking kidding me. You're saying this shit to me, right? And he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, son, just look for Jesus. So in my mind, I'm looking around and there was a picture on the wall in that house. And he said, no, honey, I don't want you to look for a picture. I want you to look for him. And God, that infuriated me. I'm like, that motherfucker is not here. And I was in a bad spot at that moment with him. And in my mind, as I looked around to the other side of the room, there was Jesus. And I told Father, I said, I see him. He says, what did he say to you? And I told him, I said, he doesn't have to say anything, Father. And he goes, well, why doesn't he have to say anything, son? I said, because he's crying. He's crying watching this happen to me. And that was the moment that everything changed for me. He wasn't there to pull me out of the room. He's there to love me unconditionally. He's there to support me and not look at me any different because of what happened. I had so much guilt and shame for being angry with him for all those years. But I thanked the priest, and I left, and I sat in my truck, and I just cried. And, I thought about that, of all the things I've said, all the things I've done. And I just asked for forgiveness because I did not know. I'd never been to church, a couple times maybe. I knew nothing about church. I knew nothing about Jesus. I knew nothing about anything because I didn't fucking want any part of it. But if I take my daughter to school every single day and I walk her to every class and I walk her and wait for her to come out of the restroom and do those things, she could take a step off the curb. When I look to the left, she looks to the right, and something could happen. I can't protect her. I can't pull her out of everything, but I can fucking love her unconditionally. And that's what he does for us. And unconditional love comes from looking at somebody and not having expectations, not having resentments, not judging them, but holding space for that person, even if they're broken, addicted, drunk, a sex offender, a murderer, holding space for that person because that's where they're at and not judging them. That is where unconditional love comes from. And it's not easy to get there for some people. It's taken me a while to work on, and I still work on it. But the energy, that Christ energy, that stuff that flows through us, that makes us healers, that makes our vibration increase, that takes us to the level we're supposed to be, that's one of the things you have to do to get there. I will never forget that. People talk about love all the time. Andrea and I were talking about this earlier, and it would just piss me off because I don't understand love. I've never understood happiness. I've never understood joy. I've never experienced those beautiful things. Granted, did I have some wonderful things in my life? Yes. But the underlying reality is there was this broken person in the background that's still disconnected from being in the Marine Corps, that's still disconnected from people, that doesn't understand themselves, that doesn't understand people in the room, doesn't understand how they're in the same position over and over and over with every relationship. Because nobody said life happens for you, not to you. That you're a direct reflection of your life, meaning if I want to change my exterior, I change my interior. Hell, they didn't even teach us how to balance a fucking checkbook in high school.
No.
Right?
No.
Let alone teach us how to learn how to love ourselves. So that priest that day changed everything for me. And that is the seed that was planted that has been growing. You know, we talk about that. We've talked about it a couple times, having a seed that's planted. How many seeds do you have planted that say that you're not good enough? That you can't have the life that you want, that you can't open your own business, that you can't love your wife, that you can't love your husband, that you can't be loyal, that you can't be clean, that you can't be sober. Let's dig that out and throw it away. You know, Andrea and I were talking a lot. We talk a lot. You know, Andrea, people say healing, this perception is healing takes this long time.
No, I disagree.
It doesn't.
No, we've talked about this at length, and I think Wes and I are on the same page, but when we discuss it with other people, we get a lot of pushback saying, oh, to overcome drug addiction takes years, possibly, you know, or to make that breakthrough that you need to make, it can take months, years, whatever. I do not agree. Wes, you don't agree.
No.
We believe it can happen in an instant. It can happen today.
Yep. Now, I can appreciate and understand that may take you a little bit to comprehend. It took me a couple years to get there. However, we're going to walk through hell with you, but we can't do it for you. And we know the shortcut. And the shortcut on that one is you start looking at the systems and programs and ideas and thought processes that we talk about. It will supercharge your healing. Things come to me now that put me to my knees, and 3 days later, I'm like, gosh, that feels like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, I have learned to use my systems and tools. I reach in my toolkit and I pull something out and I maneuver through it. And sometimes I call somebody that I trust, like Andrea or my friend Trinae at the Reiki Wellness Center, or Margaret, or some of the other people that I am deeply connected to that are my friends and spiritual healers and advisors, and tell them where I'm at. And sometimes you just need to say it out loud to somebody you can trust. And then I sit there and say, damn it, I'm a healer. I'm going to fucking heal this. And I shift my energy. I am gifted. I am loved. I am beautiful. If you walk down the boardwalk in Virginia Beach at 5:30 in the morning when Abigail and I are walking by, I am gifted. I am loved. I am beautiful. I love this job. I love this life. I love myself. I have every tool I need. I am successful. I am abundant. Jesus flows through me at a high level, and I change the world. You're going to hear that because I fucking say it for about 4 miles, and I say my affirmations. I do my declarations. Every step that I take, my vibration increases. Every breath that I take, I release it no longer serves me. I attract abundant, beautiful people that have high vibrations, and we have deep conversations about life. That's what I talk about to myself. What do you talk about? Where do you limit yourself? We can change that in an instant. Something I want you to think about, and I wrote this down, is you are the sum of your second word. Somebody pulls out in front of you in traffic. Your first word is probably not a good one, but it's the second word that you say is who you are. If the second word you say is, man, that person's stupid, what an idiot, well, that shows where your vibration is. Or if your second word is, boy, that scared me, I'm going to pray for that person because obviously they didn't see me. 2 different thoughts, 2 different vibrations, 2 different lives. You are the sum of your second word.
I like that. I've never heard that before.
You haven't? Mm-mm. You should hang around me more. I'll help you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, you know, Andrea talks about raising your vibration all the time. And, you know, we take classes, we take courses, and an acquaintance of mine recently said to me, you're a healer. Why are you going to all these different people? And I looked at him and I said, because I'm smart enough to know that I still need education. I still need to hear maybe something different. And so we do these things, right? And she was telling me how high her vibration was, and I just giggled every time she'd say it because it's funny how she talks sometimes. But I went to her office and I bought her daughter a little gift. And because her daughter really, really loves me and cherishes me.
Yes, she does.
Yes, I'm sure she thinks about me all the time. And yes, I'm being sarcastic. So what 16-year-old likes anybody, you know? But when she got in the car, I felt the difference in our vibrations. Her energy level, her vibration. My friend Andrea that I'm used to seeing every day was not in that truck. The new Andrea was there. And that just resonated with me at such a deep level. I loved it. So thank you for that lesson.
Thank you. I'm glad that my vibration was so high that you could feel it, but I'm sorry yours wasn't higher.
Hey, I've been working on it. You know, you raise your vibration by changing the way you think, feel, and talk. You know, saying your affirmations, your declarations. If you're sitting on the sofa feeling sorry for yourself, get up. Move out of that energy. Walk around the block. It's easier said than done, but the reality is it's so simple. It almost makes us look silly for not doing it. And I've not done it many times.
Because I think sometimes we just get stuck.
Yeah.
You literally feel stuck and you don't even want to do the smallest thing that would make you feel better.
Yep. So one of the cool things, Andrea, I don't know if I ever told you this, when that priest pulled that knife out of my back, and by the way, that is the second time I'd gone to a priest, and the second time something had stuck something inside of me, and the first priest didn't ask any questions. He gave me some advice, and his advice is if you don't believe in God 100%, if there's one crack in that, you can get in trouble. So he stayed away from that line of work. And, I noticed he didn't say a word when that knife was stuck in my back, but this other guy did. I just knew I was in the right place at the right time. It was part of my journey, but when I seen him pull that out, I do that for people now in my healing practice. You know, when they tell me, I've got this pain in my neck, I'm like, well, does it feel like a knife? They're like, yeah, it does. I'm like, yeah, because there's an energetic knife there, and, pulling those things out. So that is one of the gifts that God showed me, before I realized the work I could do. So I pay attention to a lot, and I was like, if the priest could do it, I can do it. There's no difference. So what are we going to do next time?
I don't know, Wes. What are we going to talk about?
Well, Andrea, I do know, but you're going to have to listen to the teaser to find out.
Okay. I'll be waiting. Yes. And it'll be worth the wait because I've heard this story a little bit before and you do not want to miss it.
Yes. So reach out on Insta if you need us. You can ask any questions. And I think the biggest question I had this last time was about the wind chimes. Because some of the people that have listened to the podcast are like, Wes, dude, I've been in your house. I've never heard wind chimes. And I'm like, yeah, that's because they're on the front porch. And unless the wind's like 30 miles an hour, the wind just doesn't hit them. But what was that, episode 3, right? I think it's episode 3. You could hear them. They sounded like they're in the kitchen.
They sounded very loud, and they are not anywhere close to where we were recording.
Yeah, fun stuff. So thank you for staying on the podcast. Do us a favor. Next to the follow button, there's 3 little dots. Click that and give us a nice 5-star review. And if you're from this market, if you remember Gene Walters, tell a friend. That's what he used to say all the time.
As I like to say, if I know one thing about Wes Coons, it's that he loves a 5-star review. So
and palm trees, Dan.
And palm trees.
Thank you. And I want to leave this with you. You are more than you believe. The pain that you feel can be shifted in a minute. Say your affirmations. If you don't know what I'm even talking about, find me on Instagram and we'll have a personal conversation. You are loved, you are gifted, you are beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.